Okay, we're continuing here with the Best of the West in Art, Music, Movies, and Books by me, Pete Rogers. We're just finishing up today the Inventors and Scientists chapter. I'm going to say one brief word about my tie. It has an Irish harp on it. So this is March. We're leading up to St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. My father's from Ireland, so I'm half Irish, and I love the Irish. And the harp was a great symbol of Ireland because Queen Elizabeth, the Protestant, had declared that all Irish musicians should be killed. And the reason why she declared that was because she saw that they were passing on the traditions of the country through the bards, singing the songs and telling the stories. So she wanted to bump them all off, and the Irish pride in the harp made it, then part on one of their flags and, their sports teams and their real popular beer. All right, so now continuing with the scientists. This is Ernest Rutherford from Scotland. Okay, he's considered the father of nuclear physics. And I've also said this too. The Scottish people, in terms of per capita, the number of them relative to their achievement, they're the smartest people ever. And now I wouldn't have said that without having studied them. And believe me, I would rather say the Irish are smarter, but they're not. And Ireland was kind of screwed because they're so darn poor. You have to have enough leisure time to think. And don't get me wrong. Scots, you have the Highlanders and the Lowlanders. The Highlanders are the warriors, the fighters, and they're actually the best fighters ever for per capita basis of any population in the world. But the Lowlanders, they weren't wealthy, but they had enough money and they had a dedication to study. And it came out of the Bible. Scotland was very intensely studious about the Bible in the early 1700s. And once you read the Bible, you become a lot smarter, and then you just move on to other things. Science actually comes from the Bible, okay? Now people say, oh, religion and science are the opposite. No, they're not. Science comes from the Bible. I say that based on extensive experience with both the Bible and with science, because you have to be enthusiastic about studying God's creations and believe the universe is rational and you are created in the image of God like the Creator, therefore you can understand things in order to be motivated to do it. That's why only the white Christian men of Europe were motivated to study science. All the rest of the world, they're too busy fighting and having tyrants controlling everybody. It's just a fact. Study it. This is well known. So anyways, this is Ernest Rutherford, the Scottish guy, father of nuclear physics, co-inventor of concepts like radioactive half-life, atomic number, discoverer of radon, the proton, and the hydrogen nucleus, alpha and beta radiation. Here's another Scottish guy, John Boyd Dunlop, inventor of the air-filled bicycle tires that then became the tires, of course, for cars and for other things. He had worked as a doctor of animals in Ireland as well. Another Scotsman, Andrew Carnegie. He was born in Scotland to a Presbyterian family, very poor, came to USA, was a genius with Morse code and rose quickly in corporations, made investment in the railroad, then Big Steel. Carnegie Steel became U.S. Steel. He became one of the richest men in the whole world. And he was pretty nice in his later years. He donated many millions of dollars to charity, started 2,800 libraries in the USA. He built 7,600 pipe organs for churches, Carnegie Hall for music performance in New York. He made Carnegie Mellon University. He was a big believer that the Scots had done more to help the development of America than anybody else. He said America would have been a poor show if it had not been for the Scots. Okay, here's another Scotland-born guy, Alexander Graham Bell, inventor of the telephone. Okay, his wife was deaf, his mother was deaf, so he's pretty motivated to figure out communication methods. Here's Henry Ford, inventor of the automobile assembly line, pioneer in the production of assembly lines of the Ford automobile. Okay, here's the Wright brothers, inventor of the airplane, So you're noticing a pattern. Almost all these guys, a bunch of white Christian guys that invented everything that we consider modern. Santiago Ramon y Cajal from Spain, 1852 to 1934. He figured out staining techniques to visualize the individual brain cells and neurons, and he mapped out a lot of the brain anatomy. That was pioneering, won the Nobel Prize for that. I like one. My favorite quote from him is that in order for a scientist, a discoverer, to really maximize and amplify what they do, they must stay intensely focused on one thing and avoid all distractions. He says that will greatly amplify what they're able to do, and that's true. So here's Pierre Curie from France and Marie Curie from Poland, okay? And she won 2 Nobel Prizes for their discoveries, research on polonium and radium and whatnot. Here is the great Thomas Edison, inventor of the sound recording phonograph, electrical power generation from direct current, the motion picture camera, and of course, most famously, the light bulb. Okay, the great American inventor. Here's Nikolai Tesla, one of the smartest guys who ever lived, the Serbian-American inventor of alternating current for public use and many other things. Here's a guy with a difficult to pronounce name, Joseph Nicephore-Niepce from France, inventor of the photography camera. Okay, here is George Eastman, inventor of roll film modern camera. Okay, for Eastman Kodak. Kodak was a camera that was popular when I was young. Here's Guglielmo Marconi, the Italian guy, inventor of the radio. A lot of people claim that Nikolai Tesla really invented it, so I don't know for sure, but here's Marconi. He got credit for the radio. Here is another Scotsman, John Logie Baird, inventor of the television, okay, and color television. There's another guy, an American guy here, Philo Farnsworth, who was one of the co-inventors of TV. He improved the black and white version greatly. He held 300 patents, including for a nuclear fusion device. Okay. He was a Mormon, an American Mormon, Philo Farnsworth. Okay. Here is Alexander Fleming, inventor of penicillin, another Scottish guy, microbiologist. He figured it out by preventing the growth of mold on bread. Arthur Compton, Baptist church deacon, figured out that light was more than a wave. It's also a particle, a photon, the Compton effect. Here is Charles Lindbergh, the great pilot with the guts to fly across the Atlantic Ocean, first man to do it. Here is Sir Robert Watson Watt, another guy from Scotland. He was a relative of James Watt, the Scottish inventor of the steam engine. Sir Watson Watt was inventor of the early radar technique called the Huff-Def, high-frequency detection finding, and later he invented modern radar too. Frickin' genius. He did as much or more than any other man to help us win the Allies World War II. They were able to detect the German U-boats, ships, and planes. Okay. In 1956, driving around, he got a speeding ticket where the police had used radar to time his car, and he told the officer, if I had known that's what you were going to do with radar, I would not have invented it. Here's Chuck Yeager, the great pilot who broke the sound barrier, okay, and an airplane flight. He had like perfect vision, so he could line up on things ahead before someone else could. Here's William Shockley, inventor of the semiconductor transistor, which is the basic building block of modern electronics for making computers. Okay. Here is Charles Towns, inventor of microwaves and the laser, public domain photo. And by the way, most of these guys are super religious, super devout, okay? Being religious makes you want to study the creations of God. It makes you want to do science because it's so beautiful. You don't want to do bullshit, tedious work that you have to make money. You just want to do science because it's so interesting. Okay, so that's it for our scientists, inventors. There's tons more of them. I just don't have time to put them all in there. But that gives you an idea of, basically the white Christian men invented about 99% of what we consider modern scientific things. Everything done before 1900. After 1900, there was more work from some other groups, and really, mostly after 1970, other groups started getting involved in the modern scientific method. But it's kind of interesting that these guys did so much. When you study it, you'll be freaked out by how they did just about everything. And there was almost nothing done by other cultures. There was almost nothing done by women. There's a few little exceptions here and there, but not much. So anyways, kind of interesting. We'll leave it at that for today.